Your brain is speaking to you all the time, but unlike a conversation, its language isn't always clear. Sometimes it whispers through small physical changes, subtle shifts in behavior, or quiet signals that something deeper is unfolding. In a world where dementia is affecting more and more people under the radar, the importance of decoding these early signs can't be overstated. We're not just talking about memory loss or forgetfulness. We're talking about those first quiet disturbances that often slip through the cracks until it's too late. This video is your guide to understanding 10 silent clues your brain may be in trouble, clues that could save you or someone you love from long-term cognitive damage. Let's start with one of the most overlooked red flags: posture and movement changes. Imagine someone you know, perhaps a neighbor in her early 60s, who once had a strong, confident walk. Lately, she seems to shuffle more, leaning slightly to one side, with slower reflexes when reaching for objects. It's easy to attribute this to aging or even tiredness. But what if it's more? What if the brain is beginning to lose its coordination with the muscles, silently hinting that something is disrupting its connection with the body? Subtle balance issues, hesitation when turning corners, or dragging feet without realizing. These might be neurological whispers that your brain's motor control is weakening. Next, let's talk about how we perceive the world around us. Spatial misjudgment, like reaching too far for a glass or stepping too close to a curb, can seem like minor clumsiness. But when these things happen often, it could point to early disruptions in the brain's sensory motor mapping. The same goes for struggling to judge how deep stairs are, or constantly bumping into furniture in familiar places. The part of the brain responsible for mapping the physical world may already be under silent stress. A less obvious but equally telling sign is visual confusion in complex environments. Imagine walking into a busy supermarket and suddenly feeling overwhelmed. The noise, the shelves, the lighting, all feel jumbled and disorienting. For someone experiencing early brain deterioration, such sensory overload can lead to anxiety, confusion, or even the need to leave abruptly. These aren't just emotional reactions. They're neurological responses that signal the brain's declining ability to filter and process simultaneous input. You may be surprised to know that even a subtle decline in your sense of smell can be one of the first brain-related indicators that something is wrong. If you've started noticing that coffee no longer smells as rich, or that you need stronger cologne to notice its fragrance, this could be more than just a nose issue. Olfactory function is deeply connected to the brain's memory and emotion centers. A declining sense of smell has been linked to several forms of dementia long before other signs appear. Another silent message comes through your reaction to loud or complex sounds. Maybe you once enjoyed music playing in the background while you read, but now that same music feels irritating or even overwhelming. Or maybe you struggle to follow conversations when there's background noise, like in a cafe or during family gatherings. This could be your brain's way of saying it's having trouble filtering sound. An early decline in auditory processing. The bottom line? Your brain is constantly giving feedback through your body, your senses, and your behavior. The earlier we learn to recognize and decode these subtle clues, the better we can protect our cognitive health and take action before real damage sets in. Let's move to another area where the brain often sends quiet distress signals: muscle strength and grip. It may sound odd to link your hand's ability to open a jar to brain health, but emerging studies suggest just that. When your grip weakens, or your arms feel unusually tired doing simple tasks like carrying a shopping bag or holding a cup steady, it might be more than muscle loss. It could be the brain failing to coordinate fine motor skills efficiently. In many cases, the brain's command center begins to lose communication with the muscles before any cognitive symptom becomes obvious. Think of it like a fading radio signal. Your brain may still be trying to send clear instructions, but your hands are struggling to receive them properly. This doesn't just affect the hands. Leg strength also plays a crucial role. A person who once climbed stairs with ease may suddenly avoid them, not from laziness, but from a subtle decline in balance, timing, or confidence. These signs are especially important because the link between movement and cognition is far deeper than we once thought. Physical frailty often mirrors mental vulnerability, and recognizing these small changes can help prevent both falls and cognitive decline. Now let's discuss a very common but dangerously underestimated area: sleep. While everyone experiences restless nights now and then, frequent disruptions in your sleep cycle might be your brain waving a red flag. If you find yourself lying awake for hours, waking up too early, or feeling like you haven't slept at all despite being in bed all night, take note. Deep sleep isn't just for rest. It's when your brain clears out waste proteins, processes memories, and resets emotional balance. When this sleep is regularly fragmented, it can create inflammation and even accelerate neurodegenerative changes. Even more telling is when someone begins sleeping too much during the day. A person who never used to nap suddenly needs long afternoon rests or falls asleep in front of the TV. This excessive daytime sleepiness is not laziness. It can indicate a breakdown in the brain's circadian rhythm and alertness systems. In some cases, vivid dreams, night terrors, or sleep movements like flailing arms or shouting can be signs of REM sleep behavior disorder, which has been linked to neurological diseases like Lewy body dementia. We should also talk about emotional retreat and apathy, which is often mistaken for depression. When someone starts to show less interest in things they used to enjoy, be it gardening, reading, talking to friends, or even basic daily tasks, it may be a sign that something internal is shifting. The brain's reward system, the part responsible for motivation and pleasure, can quietly decline, causing the person to withdraw. They're not necessarily sad. They're just no longer wired to feel connected or engaged. When someone seems emotionally flat, avoids social settings, or stops reacting to good news or joyful moments, don't brush it off. Why is this so important? Because these behaviors often appear before memory loss. The emotional centers of the brain, like the prefrontal cortex and limbic system, can begin to degrade early in neurodegenerative conditions. What we might label as a personality change can be an early warning that the brain is in trouble. So what can we do about all of this? First, let's pause here. If what we've covered so far resonates with you, or if someone close to you comes to mind, leave a comment with the word "aware" below. That lets us know you're paying attention to your health or someone else's. If you feel brave, you can even share a personal story, maybe something you've noticed but weren't sure how to interpret. Your voice could help someone else feel less alone. And if you're finding this video helpful so far, do me a favor, click that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We share new insights every week that might make a huge difference in your life or someone you care about. This channel is about building a community that supports brain health, together, not alone. Now, let's keep going, because the next symptoms are perhaps the most surprising and the most powerful. One of the most alarming early signs of brain trouble is when language stops flowing the way it used to. Imagine you're in a conversation and suddenly the word you need just won't come. You know what you mean? Maybe it's mirror or battery, but instead you say "that thing" or just pause, hoping the word will land. This occasional lapse is normal, especially when stressed or tired. But if it starts happening regularly, forgetting everyday words, using the wrong terms or speaking in circles, it could signal a deeper issue: early aphasia. Aphasia doesn't just affect vocabulary, it disrupts how the brain organizes and retrieves language. Some people may begin substituting words unintentionally, bed for couch, while others may stall mid-sentence, unable to recall names of people they've known for years. As time goes on, you may notice repetition, someone telling the same story multiple times, or asking the same question even after receiving an answer. This isn't forgetfulness. It's the brain struggling to store or retrieve recent information in real time. These speech disruptions can cause frustration, not just for the individual, but for loved ones who may not understand what's happening. It's tempting to correct them, but more helpful is to pay attention. Frequent pauses, unusual word swaps, or confusion during simple conversations should never be dismissed as just getting older. Closely connected to language is another critical function: problem-solving and decision-making. We all make mistakes sometimes, but when choices become noticeably erratic or risky, the brain could be sending a distress call. For example, someone might start giving away large sums of money to strangers, forgetting to pay bills, or wearing mismatched clothing, like a heavy jacket on a hot summer day. These are not quirky habits. They often indicate the brain is struggling to assess risk, plan sequences, or even judge time. In one case, a 68-year-old man with no previous issues suddenly began collecting dozens of expired lottery tickets, convinced he could replay them if he waited long enough. When questioned, he became defensive and confused. Only later did doctors discover early cognitive decline disrupting his executive function. These changes in logic, planning, and attention control can be incredibly subtle in the beginning, and often masked by humor or denial. Another silent symptom that many overlook is disorientation to time and place. A person might forget what day it is, but also where they are, or why they entered a room. These gaps in orientation aren't always noticeable until something strange happens, like getting lost in a familiar shopping mall, or showing up for an appointment on the wrong day. For the person going through it, this can feel like waking up in a fog. They may recognize the space but not feel grounded in it. This disconnection from surroundings is often mistaken for absent-mindedness or fatigue, but it's far more serious when persistent. Even more concerning is when someone begins to confuse time periods, referencing events from decades ago as if they just happened, or asking about people who've passed away. These memory time slips are clear signs that the brain is misfiring in how it places and retrieves information. What's worse, these lapses can increase vulnerability to scams, isolation, and unsafe wandering behaviors. To make things even trickier, the individual often doesn't notice their own errors. Self-awareness tends to fade, making it harder for someone to recognize their need for help. That's why family, friends, and caregivers play such a crucial role. Noticing the shift and addressing it early can slow further damage and provide better quality of life. In the next block, we'll uncover the deeper emotional and psychological shifts that can alter how a person relates to others and themselves. These clues are often the most painful for families to witness, but understanding them is key to compassion and early intervention. Sometimes the most telling signs of cognitive decline aren't spoken out loud, they're felt. And one of the earliest and most heartbreaking changes is a slow emotional fading. You might notice that someone who once lit up at birthdays or cracked jokes at the dinner table now seems distant. They're physically present but emotionally absent. Their smile comes slower. Their reactions feel rehearsed or missing altogether. This isn't coldness or rudeness. It's the brain beginning to withdraw from the emotional world. In its early stages, this emotional detachment can feel like a personality shift. A once outgoing woman may start skipping gatherings. A funny uncle may stop telling stories. What we call apathy is often the brain's frontal lobe, the part responsible for motivation, initiative, and emotional response, losing traction. The result is a kind of inner stillness. Not sadness exactly, but indifference. The person may stop asking questions, stop offering opinions, or stop participating in activities they once loved. It's as if their internal spark is dimming, little by little. This can be incredibly confusing for family and friends. They might feel ignored, or think their loved one is being difficult. But the truth is, many people in early cognitive decline are aware that something is wrong. They just don't know how to express it. This frustration sometimes comes out as irritability, stubbornness, or snapping at others. But deep down, there's often fear and confusion. Imagine knowing your reactions aren't quite right, but being unable to fix them. There's also a phenomenon known as emotional blunting, a reduced ability to feel or express highs and lows. Someone might not cry at a funeral, or might seem unmoved by exciting news. Again, this isn't callousness. It's brain-based. The parts of the brain responsible for emotional resonance are becoming less active, and this creates a flatness in mood that's hard to fake or control. Loved ones might ask, "Why don't you care?" But the better question is, what's happening in the brain that's making it hard to care? This also affects relationships and intimacy. A partner might stop initiating conversations or show less affection. They might seem distracted, irritated, or uninterested, not because they no longer care, but because their cognitive resources are being silently drained. Processing emotions, reading facial cues, and responding appropriately require healthy neural circuits. As those pathways weaken, connection becomes harder to maintain. Another underappreciated signal is a shift in social judgment. A friend might begin telling inappropriate jokes, oversharing private information, or misreading the tone of a conversation. This isn't simply bad manners. The part of the brain that helps us read social cues and regulate our behavior, especially in group settings, is being compromised. These moments can be deeply embarrassing or awkward, but they're important clues. Sometimes the emotional changes go even deeper, turning into suspicion or paranoia. A man might accuse his daughter of stealing his phone, when in fact, he misplaced it. A woman may become convinced that her neighbors are watching her or talking about her behind her back. These delusions are not about truth or logic. They're the brain's desperate attempt to make sense of memory gaps or confusion, and they can create real stress in families who don't yet understand what's happening. As these emotional and social changes unfold, it's common for the person to retreat even more, avoiding contact, skipping appointments, or refusing visitors. It's not just shyness. It's often a defense mechanism, a way to protect themselves from situations that feel overwhelming or humiliating. And sadly, the less they interact, the faster the decline can accelerate, creating a vicious cycle of isolation. In the next block, we'll explore the most visually dramatic and sometimes frightening symptoms, the kind that many people associate with advanced dementia, but that can sometimes begin quietly and unexpectedly. As cognitive decline progresses, the signals from the brain become louder and sometimes more alarming. One of the most distressing signs, for both the person and their loved ones, is a distortion of reality. It often begins subtly, misplacing a wallet and accusing someone of stealing it, or insisting that a long-deceased relative is still alive. These experiences aren't simple memory slips. They reveal a deeper breakdown in how the brain stores, recalls, and interprets reality. You may notice someone talking to themselves more often, or reacting emotionally to something that's not there. They might describe hearing music no one else hears, or seeing animals in the hallway. These are visual or auditory hallucinations, and while they can be brief and harmless at first, they tend to grow more frequent and intense. For the individual, these experiences can feel completely real. They're not pretending, exaggerating, or making it up. Their brain is misfiring, generating false perceptions that feel absolutely true to them. In many cases, these hallucinations come during the evening or in low-light environments. This is sometimes referred to as sundowning, where confusion and agitation increase as the sun sets. Shadows become threatening. Familiar spaces feel foreign. A living room becomes a train station. A mirror reflects a stranger. It's disorienting and scary, and those around them may not know how to respond. What's important to understand is that logic no longer helps in these moments. Telling someone, "It's just your imagination," or "That's not real," often backfires. It can cause distress, anger, or even aggression. The brain is trying to fill in blanks with something, anything, that feels structured. So when facts clash with feelings, it's the feelings that usually win. Hallucinations are more common in certain forms of dementia, like Lewy body dementia, but they can appear in others too, especially as the condition advances. Visual illusions may range from mistaking patterns on a carpet for insects to full-blown visions of people or animals. These moments can be peaceful or terrifying, depending on the person's emotional state and the content of the hallucination. Another difficult shift to witness is the increasing confusion about identity and relationships. A wife might be mistaken for a sister. A son might be called by the name of a childhood friend. In some cases, individuals no longer recognize their own face in a mirror. This disintegration of identity is deeply painful, not just for the person living it, but for the family watching it unfold. Some people also experience delusional thinking, believing things that are clearly untrue. They might insist that someone is trying to harm them, or that they're being followed. They might become obsessed with certain themes, like food being poisoned or the house being bugged. Again, these aren't personality quirks. They're signs that the brain's reasoning centers are losing their grip on what's real and what's imagined. These symptoms don't only strain the individual, they place tremendous emotional weight on caregivers. Many families find themselves unprepared for the rapid changes, and the person they love may seem like a stranger. Communication becomes fractured, routines fall apart, and trust is often tested. This is why support and education are just as essential as medication or therapy. Understanding what's happening inside the brain makes it easier to respond with empathy rather than frustration. In some cases, people may become physically restless, pacing for hours, trying to go home, even if they're already there. This behavior, known as wandering, can be dangerous if left unchecked. It's often triggered by anxiety, boredom, or a confused sense of time and place. A person may believe it's time to pick up their children from school, even if those children are now grown adults. They may walk out the front door in the middle of the night, thinking they're late for work. These moments highlight how memory loss is only part of the equation. It's the disconnection from context, time, place, identity, that makes dementia so challenging. In the next section, we'll move from these frightening shifts to a more hopeful discussion, what we can actually do about it. Yes, there is no cure, but there are powerful strategies that can delay decline, improve life quality, and empower both the person affected and their caregivers. Now that we've explored the quiet and sometimes frightening signs of cognitive decline, it's time to ask, what can actually be done? Is there anything we can do to protect our minds, even if dementia seems to run in the family or we're noticing changes already? The good news is, yes. While there's no known cure for neurodegenerative diseases, an increasing body of research shows that certain lifestyle choices can significantly delay the progression and even reduce the risk of developing dementia in the first place. Let's begin with one of the most powerful tools available: movement. Physical exercise is not just about staying in shape. It's a direct investment in your brain's long-term performance. Aerobic activities like walking, swimming, dancing, or cycling increase blood flow to the brain, improve oxygen delivery, and support neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections. In fact, studies have shown that people who exercise regularly have greater brain volume in areas associated with memory and learning. And it doesn't have to be extreme. Just 30 minutes a day of moderate movement can help stabilize mood, improve sleep, and stimulate growth factors that nourish brain cells. Resistance training, like using weights or bodyweight exercises, can also support executive function, balance, and coordination. It's about keeping the body strong so the mind has the structure to thrive within. Next comes mental stimulation. The brain is like a muscle. It grows stronger the more you use it. Learning something new, solving puzzles, playing instruments, or even switching up your daily routine can challenge your neural networks. Think of activities that demand attention, memory, planning, or language. Things like crossword puzzles, chess, learning a new language, or reading about topics outside your comfort zone. Even more valuable than solitary mental tasks are social interactions. Conversations, debates, storytelling, and emotional sharing activate a wide range of brain regions simultaneously. Humans are wired for connection, and regular social engagement is one of the strongest protective factors against cognitive decline. Isolation, on the other hand, has been compared to smoking in terms of its negative impact on long-term health. Another foundational piece is nutrition. Certain eating patterns have been shown to support brain function and reduce inflammation. The Mediterranean diet, for example, is rich in healthy fats, lean proteins, fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. It includes olive oil, fish like salmon and sardines, nuts, seeds, and leafy greens, foods high in omega-3 fatty acids and antioxidants. There's also the Mind diet, a combination of the Mediterranean and DASH diets, which specifically targets brain health. It emphasizes berries, beans, nuts, and green leafy vegetables, while limiting red meat, fried food, and sugary treats. It's not about strict dieting. It's about making consistent choices that fuel your brain the way it needs. Of course, sleep plays an irreplaceable role. Deep, restorative sleep allows your brain to cleanse itself of waste, consolidate memories, and regulate emotions. Chronic sleep deprivation, even just a few hours less per night, can accelerate brain aging and impair your ability to concentrate, retain information, and make sound decisions. Prioritizing sleep through regular schedules, limiting screen time before bed, and creating a calm nighttime routine isn't a luxury, it's brain protection. Finally, managing chronic health conditions is essential. High blood pressure, uncontrolled diabetes, high cholesterol, and obesity all increase the risk of dementia. Why? Because they damage the blood vessels that supply your brain. Think of your brain as a city, and those blood vessels are the highways that deliver oxygen, glucose, and nutrients. When those highways are blocked or damaged, neighborhoods of the brain can begin to shut down. Keeping these conditions under control, through medication, lifestyle adjustments, or both, can dramatically reduce your risk. So can quitting smoking and limiting alcohol, which are both known to harm cognitive function over time. It's also important to address mental health. Long-term stress, anxiety, and untreated depression can take a toll on the brain's structural integrity. Chronic stress floods the brain with cortisol, which in excess can shrink the hippocampus, the region essential for memory formation. Practicing mindfulness, engaging in calming hobbies, journaling, or talking with a professional are ways to lower stress and protect mental resilience. In the next block, we'll explore how early recognition of these symptoms, paired with proactive care, can not only slow decline but restore dignity, purpose, and emotional connection for both the individual and their loved ones. Recognizing the signs early doesn't just help manage symptoms, it can completely transform the path ahead. When people receive a diagnosis of cognitive impairment or early dementia, it can feel overwhelming. There may be fear, denial, or even shame. But the truth is, an early diagnosis isn't an ending, it's an opportunity. It opens a door for clarity, planning, and preserving autonomy for as long as possible. When the signs are caught early, like changes in movement, speech, mood, or sleep, families can start building the systems of support that matter most. That might mean speaking to a neurologist, starting medications that stabilize memory, or making lifestyle changes tailored to the person's specific needs. Just as importantly, it allows the individual to be part of the conversation while they're still able to express their wishes, make decisions, and feel seen. A major benefit of early awareness is the chance to create routines that support brain health. This could be as simple as setting reminders for medications, organizing meals in advance, or labeling areas of the home to prevent confusion. A structured environment brings comfort. It helps reduce stress for both the individual and the caregiver, especially when decision-making begins to falter. Speaking of caregivers, they are the unsung heroes in this story. Whether it's a spouse, child, sibling, or friend, caregiving brings a profound emotional responsibility. With early intervention, caregivers can be trained, supported, and equipped to provide the right balance between assistance and independence. When someone still feels in control of their life, even in small ways, it makes a tremendous difference in confidence and emotional well-being. There's also a window of opportunity to strengthen emotional bonds. A person facing early-stage dementia may become more reflective, seeking connection, forgiveness, or closure. These moments can lead to meaningful conversations about memories, values, and wishes for the future. Far from being depressing, these exchanges can be deeply human and healing. They give space for love, laughter, and tenderness, even in the face of uncertainty. With support, people can still pursue passions. Whether it's painting, gardening, singing, or journaling, engaging in creative or calming activities helps preserve a sense of identity. Purpose is powerful. When someone feels useful, inspired, or simply involved, it helps maintain their cognitive function longer. Even volunteering or mentoring, when appropriate, can provide a sense of contribution and belonging. One of the most underestimated tools is community. Joining a support group, whether online or in person, can provide validation, guidance, and a sense of not being alone. It's a space to share frustrations, ask questions, and learn from others who are going through similar journeys. Caregivers also benefit immensely from this kind of connection. It reduces burnout, fosters empathy, and reminds everyone that help is out there. Financial and legal planning should also be part of early intervention. It's not just about paperwork, it's about peace of mind. When decisions about finances, medical care, and living arrangements are made early, it reduces stress later. It also ensures that the person's voice is honored. Whether it's setting up a power of attorney, updating a will, or preparing advanced medical directives, these steps create clarity and reduce future conflicts. As the condition progresses, tools like memory aids, reminder apps, smart home systems, and caregiver alerts can help maintain safety and function. The goal isn't to resist change, it's to adapt with dignity. Every small adjustment, when done with love and foresight, becomes a bridge that carries someone gently across each stage. In the final block, we'll bring everything together, honoring both the science and the soul of this journey, and leave you with a warm, uplifting message about taking control of your brain's future today. The truth is, brain health isn't just a medical issue, it's a human one. Behind every symptom, there's a story. Behind every forgotten name, a life lived. And behind every early sign noticed and not ignored, there is hope. That's what this entire journey comes down to. The power of paying attention, the courage to act early, and the compassion to walk with someone, whether it's yourself or a loved one, through the unknown with grace and understanding. Dementia may still be a word wrapped in fear for many, but knowledge turns fear into focus. It's not about controlling what's coming. It's about preparing, protecting, and preserving what matters most: memory, connection, dignity, and joy. It's about knowing that small changes today can delay bigger losses tomorrow. About recognizing that a shuffle in someone's step or a change in their mood might not be nothing. It might be everything. This isn't just about science. It's about soul. It's about preserving the laughter at the dinner table, the sound of a familiar voice calling your name, the quiet comfort of knowing you still remember who you are, and that someone sees you, fully. So if this video spoke to you in any way, let's take a moment together. Leave a comment below sharing what resonated with you most. Maybe you've noticed changes in someone close to you, or in yourself. Maybe you've gone through this journey with a parent, grandparent, or partner. Maybe you're a caregiver silently holding the weight of it all. Whatever your story is, your voice matters here. And if it feels right, share one thing you've learned in this video that gave you clarity or comfort. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This channel is your safe space for honest, evidence-based conversations about health, aging, and the moments that shape our lives. Every week we'll bring you new insights, tools, and gentle reminders that your well-being, your brain, your heart, your story, are worth protecting. Before we close, here's something to carry with you. Your brain is not just an organ. It's your timeline, your personality, your archive of every sunset, every laugh, every tear. Taking care of it is not just about longevity. It's about living well, fully, with presence and purpose. And if today you took the time to learn, reflect, or see something from a new perspective, you've already taken the first step. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. Until next time, take care of your mind, honor your journey, and stay connected to what truly matters.